Master Data series for 2020. The idea for the next few months is actually to have a Master Data series every month until the end of the year. So at the end of the presentation, we'll give more details on the next Master Data Series 2, which will be held in August. But let's focus on today. The topic of today is the new features of SAP Master Data Governance. My name is John Leenstra. I'm an accounts exec for GlueData. So what I'll do is just go through the agenda, talk about the presentation, and we'll then pass over to Roelof, who will then talk about Master Data Governance and the new features of the product. Tracy, can you go to the next slide? Great. The agenda for today, we'll just introduce GlueData services, a quick overview of who GlueData is and actually what we do and who we are. We'll also talk about our core solutions and our core technology. And then, as I mentioned before, we'll pass over to Roelof, who will focus on the new features of SAP Master Data Governance, broken down into 3 sections: the general MDG improvements, and then improvements on the MDG BP, and improvements on MDG Material. Thanks, Tracy. Tracy, you can go to the next slide.
I think Roelof is running the slides today.
Great, thanks.
Jonna, you've got control, so it should go over when you click.
Got you. Thanks, Roelof. Great. So introducing GlueData. So GlueData is a SAP solutions service partner that focuses on master data, focusing on the SAP environment. So the 3 main areas where we focus on is when a client changes their landscape. So that falls under the data migration and the integration pillars of GlueData. We also focus when a client on SAP runs their standard processes and day-to-day operations on an SAP environment. That falls under the master data management and the master data governance of your SAP landscape. And the 5th one is when a client would like to make informed decisions based on the SAP landscape, and that falls under the insight pillar. So very overview solutions in terms of GlueData. We'll go down into a bit more detail around the solutions on our methodologies and approaches. So who are GlueData? Founded in 2011, we became a silver partner in 2014, and we became a SAP recognized expert partner in the enterprise information management space in 2017. We're extremely proud of that. There are only 5 of those recognized expertise partners globally, 3 in Europe, 1 in America, and GlueData down in SA. But we are extending our products and our services globally, and we're pretty pleased to announce that we became a gold partner in 2020, and at the same time we've also opened up a branch in Europe in April. So we have quite a big global footprint in terms of our master data projects. We're doing migration projects in Europe, we're doing MDG projects in America. So we're extremely pleased to open up our offices in Belgium in April this year. And really the main value around GlueData and the main value add is the thinking around data drives processes and processes drive profitability. So quick who we are around GlueData. Going into our next slides are our core solutions and our core tech. So the main pillar, the main broad brush around the 5 pillars is data assessments and roadmaps. We're seeing a big push around this in terms of clients that would like to assess where they are with the current data environments and then build a roadmap around that. So assessments can apply to these 5 pillars. We can do assessments on your current data migration. We can do assessments on your S/4HANA readiness. We can do assessments on your current data quality, and then we can build a roadmap around the output of the assessment. And it's important that this roadmap has to support your enterprise and your business strategy. So the very key components and a big push now in terms of clients, especially going onto a S/4HANA roadmap, is just to assess where they are. Then we can build a roadmap which aligns with their strategies. In terms of data migration, what we've done in the slide is the sub pillars in red actually highlights GlueData's methodologies and GlueData's solutions. The grey coloured bands are the SAP products for which we focus on. So I'll quickly go through the solutions by pillar. So the first one is the data migration pillar. So what GlueData offers is a very strong methodology and strategy which has been proven. We've been involved in a number of S/4HANA migrations where we focus on the DMOR, we focus on the RACI, and around that we've actually built and we are building accelerator tool sets which can really enhance the data migration journey. And a few of those are we've enhanced the RDMs, we've built a governed DMOR either in a HANA or a SQL environment. We've got FMD templates where we can have the rules for pre-validation. We've got data migration status and progress reporting. So really we got these tools and methodologies in place to really streamline the process. The next pillar is the data management and data quality. The first sub-pillar is SDM, which is our simple data management tool. So it's a GlueData tool based on BRF Plus and SAP. It's a master data management tool. And then we got our data cleansing, where we actually have a support business in preparation for the S/4HANA with pre-built templates and standards around that. And then your data quality reporting, just to understand and building a tool set and a multi-pillar report to help drive the conversation. The first SAP product under that pillar is SAP MDG. So we'll obviously focus on that today and go forward in detail. Below the MDG is the SAP IS information steward and the SAP data services. You can see those two fall across all pillars except for the archiving. So those are the key SAP products that GlueData focuses on. It is MDG, information steward, and data services. The next pillar is the data integration and insight. So this is really around the advanced data profiling. It's an as-is view on your current environment and really trying to have a look at what your current environment means and how it impacts on a business. Data provisioning is really the integration between the data and the business layer, and then the integration is also involved in that, and in terms of making sure that your integrated products fall in to the data layer, which then BI reports will extract the data from. The data integration architecture, that's just your data integration framework to make sure that's fit for purpose and in place. The next pillar is your data governance. So all the pillars previous to this pillar really focus on the data management, integration, insight, but where your data governance pillar focuses on people. So it's really the soft skills around your roles, the data councils, data domains, and really making sure that the data stewards are in place in the company. So it really focuses on bringing in the value of master data into a company and to make sure that's in place. The last pillar is the data archiving. So that's becoming an extremely important pillar for us, especially with clients going onto an S/4HANA environment. But I don't want to take too much more time. That's a general overview of GlueData. As shown on our slide deck now, with SAP MDG, that's the main focus for today's conversation. So, Roelof, I'll hand over to you to start talking about SAP MDG.
Okay, thanks for the intro, Jono. Okay, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, what MDG is. a state-of-the-art master data management solution, which comes with out of the box domain-specific master data governance, for creating, changing, distributing, or consolidating your master data across your complete landscape in your business. So just to quickly talk about, different ways of how you can implement MDG. MDG can be set up as a separate hub deployment or as a co-deployment on an operational system. You can also do a hybrid of the two as well, if you like. Talking to the benefits of MDG. So data consistency. So MDG allows you to consolidate your master data, like we said, across your complete landscape, which will give you a one view of your master data. Because of the out-of-the-box functionality that comes with MDG, with your specific domain master data objects, which is material master, your business partner, and finance, and also the extension that comes from Utopia, which is your RFM solution and your enterprise asset management. It is fairly quick to go and set up MDG. And then, of course, your cost reduction, because you'll have one system where you go and maintain all your master data centrally. Okay. Move on to the next slide. All right. So coming to the modules or areas within MDG. So we get central governance, which is mainly used for creating your data according to your business processes. So I think central governance is what we all know well. So it's been on the market for quite some time. So this is what you use to go create, change your data. There's mass processing available within that as well. And it comes with your workflow functionality, your business rules, all of that. So this is what we want to focus on today for the new features. So I'll take you through those new features in more detail. But just a summary of this within central governance. So the new features that we're looking at are just enhanced workflow functionality, where it gives you more flexibility and transparency in your workflow with your follow-up steps, or steps that you can go and set up after the change request is activated. A follow-up change request that you can trigger automatically by the system, and then also your change request tracker. Secondly, is the option is now available to us to go and search for change requests based on your business data. I'll show you how that looks. And then we're going to touch on the domain-specific enhancements within business partner and material. Okay. The second area is consolidation. So I'm not going to talk too much about consolidation. So we want to plan separate sessions for consolidation and data quality management. But yeah, I can just quickly mention what consolidation is. So consolidation gives you the ability to consolidate your data into one view. So if you have a decentralized environment, thinking of centralizing, going with a hub deployment of MDG, that's where consolidation starts making a lot of sense, where you can centralize your data and get to the golden record, as they call it, across all of your different business units, and start duplicating your data. And yeah, so that's what consolidation is about. And then data quality management is managing your data, managing your existing data in your system. So the quality of your existing data. So one thing that I just want to point out from data quality management, what it looks like quite a neat new feature that they've included, is the fact that you can do rule mining. And how rule mining works is it uses machine learning to identify business rules based on your existing master data. And those business rules can then be applied to your data quality, run reports, and it can bring up reports on your existing data. Okay. All right, so I'm going to jump into central governance. Oh, before we get to that, okay.
I think just touch on this slide quickly. Just the impacts of poor quality data. So there are a number of facts around here, just in terms of the costs of poor quality data. But I think it's important just to focus on a few of those. So in the blue block at the bottom there, we've actually bolded a few of the important things. Yeah, in terms of the vast majority of companies say they have applications in place for master data, but they don't have specialized software in place for points of capture, validation, for cleanup after collection. There's still a very manual process around that. So, the terms that we often use is get your data clean and keep your data clean. So how do you do that as a company? So, what we see in the market, there's very small focus on the actual master data in your SAP environment. So focusing on data gathering, the storage of it, the management of it, and the full life cycle of master data. So MDG can definitely help around this, really, in terms of your points of entry validation, and also in terms of keeping your data clean by having those data quality features and functions to help clients make sure that data becomes an important value of the client going forward.
All right. So now getting to central governance. So like we saw in the agenda. So we're going to look at general MDG improvements, specifically to central governance, and then improvements on business partner and material. Okay. So the general MDG improvements that I would like to share with you guys today is the additional steps after the activation of the change request, the follow-up change request, the workflow tracker, the ability to search for change requests by business data, and then auto resizing of the duplicate check pop-up. Okay. All right. So the first one, additional steps after the change request activation. So MDG has given us now the ability to go and configure steps after you've activated your master data record, whether or not it's BP or material or FI. So the change request no longer has to go and finish or complete when you activate the change request. So specifically, like in the material space, there's activities, we call it post processing activities that needs to go and happen after the material is created in the system, which is the maintenance of your pricing, your purchase info record, your source list, or if a material has to be added to a BOM. Another example would be in the manufacturing environment where you work with hearse records. So after the hearse record is created, you have to go into a separate transaction to go and maintain your approved manufacturer list. So those kind of activities that needs to happen after the data record is activated can now be managed within MDG in the workflow. So just to give you an idea of how this would look. So this is your workflow tracker. I'll show you another example of this as well. And you can see where at step 40, where the master data steward activated the change request, and it still continued on to the next step. So I added a step 92 for the maintenance of your purchase info record and source list, and you can see at this next screen here.
We can start testing.
Sorry, can everyone go on mute, please? Or is there a question? Can I continue?
Please do. Thanks, Roelof.
All right.
So just to focus on what Tracy mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, just please put that in the chat, so then we can stop the conversation and answer the question at the right time.
Okay. Okay, so what I've gone and done for this specific step 92, so you can see I created a custom UIBB, which just explains to this user, can be a buyer that needs to go and maintain this price, what he needs to go and do in the ERP system. So we can give him, guidance on what he needs to do. Another option would be, now that we've got Fiori, that we add a link on the UI where you can click on that link, and that will direct him to the transaction to go and do the maintenance that he needs to go and do. Once he's done with that, he can come back into the change request and then click on confirm to move the change request onto the next user. But the nice thing about this is that, because it's part of the workflow, that user will get a notification and a workflow item in his inbox to make him aware that he needs to go and perform this activity. Okay. So before I move on with the presentation, sorry guys, I wanted to jump into the system quickly. Okay, let's quickly go have a look and see what that's about. So I'm just going to jump into Fiori. Okay, Material Governance. Okay, so I've already submitted the change request yesterday, so I'm just going to go to my change requests. Okay, so you can see this change request. The status says final check approved, and it actually created the material for us, 682. Okay, so sure, as all of you guys know, when the change request is still open, it assigns a temporary number within MDG in the staging table. So this change request is finalized, material is activated. It's available for use in your ERP system. Let's just go see how the workflow looks.
Roelof, there's a question from Leanne just asking, is there any system check to see if the step has actually been done?
Not standard. We can go and build in custom validations to go and ensure, you can go and check now that you've got the material number. We can go and do that and make sure that the entry exists on the table before this user can go and confirm the step. So that can be done. Okay.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so as you can see, status is final check approved. See, it's on a dialog step, so this user can go and action this step. If I just click on what next, so this is also one of the new features that we're going to talk to. Come on. Okay. All right, so yeah, exactly as the screenshot. So you can see, so it's on this step, waiting for an action, and you can see the workflow, what it went through, as they call it, the happy path. Okay. All right, so that's the steps that you can go and configure after the activation of the data record. I'm just going to jump back into our presentation. Okay. Okay. Next, just going to talk about the follow-up change request. So what we also have the ability now to do is to go and with the BADI implementation, which I think has been around for quite a while, but SAP made it look a little bit nicer from a user perspective to go and see actually what the previous change request number is, what the follow-up change request number is, and you can also get to the follow-up change request from your change request in your change request header. Okay, so this is just for whatever reason, but what the business reason is. So I can give you a few examples what we've had in the past for this requirement. In one scenario, the business wanted a change request where they can go and submit just the header information of an article, just to catalog the article, just get it into the system with an emergency change request. And then they wanted, after that change request is activated, they wanted a successor or follow-on change request to be triggered automatically, and that follows then its own workflow again. So it actually creates, like you guys can see, it creates a second change request, and then just creates a second change request that needs to go through the governance process to complete the data record. In another example, we now at a mining client, they wanted to go and, they wanted the ability to go and create a material without any MRP data. So with no planning, create the material in the system, and if stock is required for the material, so we also base it on a condition, if stock is required, then we go and trigger the follow-on change request, and then that goes through a second change request with approvals for financial approval and all those to update your stock levels for that material. Okay, so that's the follow-up change request. Let's see. Okay. Next is the workflow tracker.
Roelof, sorry to interrupt. Ansor just had a question in terms of hub versus co-deployment. We know this is a co-deployed solution, but the question would, how would this work on a hub deployment? I mean, my understanding from the front end, it would be the same. It's more on the back end on the MDG integration with S4, hub versus co.
Oh, okay. Well, so in the back end, the difference is, so when you go with the hub deployment, you always have to go and migrate your master data as well to your hub, right? So the data will have to be the same as a starting point from your decentralized boxes to your hub box. So you go and build up your master data in that hub box, implement MDG on that hub box. So your master data gets managed on that box. And then once the change requests are finalized, then the data gets replicated to the other your target clients. And we can have a discussion around that. There's mapping that you can go and maintain to manage keys and attributes of data records. And so I think if we like, we can get in touch and then we can have a discussion around that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so back to the workflow tracker. So in the new releases of MDG, you'll see under the change request header that you'll get this what's next link. Okay. So this is quite nice for an MDG user now, because in the past we never had like one view where you can see where if I submit a master data record, where is it going to go to? What are all the steps that it needs to go through before I can actually start using the data record in the system. So with this workflow tracker functionality, any user can be, like in the screenshot, the requester can go and submit the change request and go and have a look at the workflow tracker and get a view of what the next step will be for this change request. Someone further down the line in the workflow can do the same. They can then again see, what was the actions that the previous users took on those steps. You can see the date and the time when those actions were taken. Quite a nice new feature that's available now to us in MDG. Okay. All right. Okay, next I want to talk about the ability to search for change requests by your business data. Okay, so as a user, you might want to if you have a list of materials, or you can on your search screen go and put in the search criteria, will come up with a list with your search results. So we can now go and select one or multiple of materials or business partners, whatever the data object is. Select those and then click on this change request button here. And what this will do is then come up with, it looks similar to your change request report. So it comes up with all the change requests that's related to your selection of these materials or whatever the data object is. So also quite a nice view, so you can see when was this material created with the change request and what other changes happened with which change requests on a specific data object. I can just maybe quickly jump and show you how that looks. Okay. Okay, so on your manage material tile, just save the search for this. I'm just searching for this material. Okay, so this comes up with your results. So obviously you can go and add more filter criteria to go and search for specific data, your data objects in the system. What the point is, what I want to show you guys is, if you make that selection, then it can be one, it can be multiple, and you click on this change requests. Then this will give you a change request report, but it's filtered to those specific, the materials that you selected. Okay, and then from here, the standard functionality is still available. Go and see the workflow log or display the change request if you want to. Okay. Okay. Yes, and then the last one on the general items within MDG, just the auto resizing of the duplicate check. Looks like this one has been available for quite some time, but thought I would just add it in. So they did make a change to this pop-up, to the UI, so that it auto resizes dynamically whenever you when you make it bigger, or so the UI will always try and show you the data per column at the best width, if I can put it like that, optimum width. Okay. Okay. All right, so that was it for the general items. So next I want to move on to the improvements within Business Partner. Okay. So first we're going to look at the improved error handling on the UI. And secondly, just talk about the fact that they removed any employee data on BP from MDG. Okay. All right, so what this is about, the improved error handling in the UI for Business Partner, is so they've basically gone and I want to say greatly improved. Well, they improved the error message that comes up on the screen for you. So what they're doing now is showing you in more detail where the specific field is that is an error. So they are classifying that specific error to the corresponding segment, or call it area of validity on your Business Partner. And then also, if a user is on this current screen and he gets the error message, he will actually get a link. If he clicks on that error message, the screen will take him to that specific field that is an error. Okay. All right, so that's on the Business Partner and the improved error handling. Okay. The next is just the employee data on BP. Because of data protection and privacy regulations, SAP decided to remove the business partner roles from MDG, from the user interface. So you won't be able to go and maintain those anymore from MDG. And by the looks of it, it's also not going to come up in your search results. So any sensitive data related to employees is not available within MDG anymore. And the reason for that is because you can't actually go and maintain that as well in the transaction BP in S4. So they decided to remove that as well from MDG. Okay. Okay. Then we're going to look at the improvements for MDG Material. So, more improvements in this area. As you can see, so we're going to look at the preferred language for material description in the search list. Some missing material master data fields that SAP added now to the data model to complete the data model. The price unit that's now editable, the price unit under your accounting data or your valuation data. So they've made that editable now in change scenarios. And then lastly is your supply chain management fields under your MRP area data that they also added now. Okay.
Rolf, before you go into preferred language, there's two questions that are on the chat.
Yes.
The first question is, does the search criteria for change requests have a data option, and how flexible is the search criteria?
Okay, are we talking about this change request by business data? Okay.
Dimitri, we can...
yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, let me show you in the system again. So, so from what I gather, it looks like it's similar to this display change requests, this standard report that you get in MDG. Okay. So from here you can, already notice the difference. So on this change request report, we always could only go and search on data related to the change requests. So the change request number, the type of change request, so all this data is only related to the change request itself. So what they've given us now is, so I just filtered on the material number, but you can go and filter on, on any one of these attributes of a material in this example, to go and find specific records, and then you can go and select those records and then click on your change request, and then that will give you a similar view as this report, but you've now filtered this report based on your business data, which is your material type or material group, depending on what you're looking for. You can't do it from this standard report.
Thank
I
you.
hope I answered your question, Dimitri.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for the question. Louis also has a question, Roelof, just in terms of is there a link on the error message also available for the BRF business rule?
No. So so that enhancement is only on the standard SAP rules. Okay.
Great, thanks.
So that's not yet available. Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So, go back to the enhancements within the Material Master. So, in the material description, I don't know if anyone has seen this before. If you start working with multiple languages, if a material language is only maintained in English, as an example, and someone logs onto the system with in French, if they go and search for that same material, the material description comes up saying no description or no description available. So what SAP has done now is in config, and it's more on the NetWeaver side, you can go and configure a sequence of preferred languages. So if English is not available, the system can go and look for the next available language and display that rather, instead of showing no description available. Okay. All right. Okay. Next is the missing fields that they added, and this talks to that. There's a view that you can go and maintain in MM01. This production resource tool view. So this data wasn't available in MDG, but in the latest version they've made it available now. So they've enhanced the data model with this plant production resource tool fields for us as well. Okay. So this will be available on the latest UI, the one that ends with a 9. Right. Okay. Okay. Next is the price unit under your valuation data. So this was also grayed out in the past, so they've made this available now. So in a change scenario, user can go and update the price unit, and that will automatically, as soon as you update the price unit, that will go and recalculate the prices maintained on this material. So your periodic unit price or standard price, depending on what you've maintained. Okay. So, for example, if you change the price unit to 10, it will go and update all the prices multiplied by 10. Okay. Okay. And then lastly is the supply chain management fields, which they added under the MRP area data. So you'll see now that there's a new UIBB, MRP area data for advanced planning. So also just another extension that SAP did for us on the data model, which is now available standard to use. Okay. Okay. Also available on the latest UI 09. Okay. Yeah, so that's my story. So that's what I have on the improvements on central governance.
Thank you very much for that. Just in terms of questions, there are a few questions which are coming through here. Just to encourage questions, we have a GlueData power bank that will be handed to the winner of the best questions. We did that in the last thing, and it worked really well. So we'll have a look at all the questions that have been pushed through, and we have a bit of time on our hands, to go through questions, and Roelof can start answering those. So Hussein has got the first question. Roelof, can you see that in the chat? It's just around the material code as per this supplier code.
Let me just see. How do chat?
So I can just read it out for you if you can't see it. Oh, there we go.
It's the last one. Which one are we looking at?
It's the one above. There we go.
Okay. Is the link on the?
No, it's the one below that. Sorry.
Okay.
you're saying. There you go.
Okay.
So currently every material has material code as per supplier code and has to be on the system before ordering, even though it is the same item. So is it possible to have the standard material code for item and then have a sub material code which can be input manually without that being mandatory?
Mandatory. No. I don't know if you Wazin, if you just
maybe
want
just can I just maybe
online,
just
you can-
ask it basically if you maybe can I just maybe it's a bit confusing. So basically currently at the moment, for example, if we have like 3 or 4 suppliers, right? So if for example one supplier's code for the same item is XYZ, for another supplier it's ABC, and for another supplier it's MNO, right? That same it's the same item, but each supplier got their own code for it. So that code has to be on materials before you order it, although it's the same item. So is it possible, for example, to have a generic code, for example, say for example, pens, right? So pen will be whatever is the code for pens, but now because when logistics then receives it, it has to match on the invoice and so forth, it has to match on the thing, then you input whatever is that supplier's code for that item. Would that be possible?
I don't think so. So, in the manufacturing environment, I don't know. Are you from BCX, right? So, an article.
Yeah.
I don't think that's available standard within article. I can just follow up for you. I know in manufacturing, to cater for that, they use HERS records, which is called manufacturing part numbers, and then you basically have one main material like your spare part, and then you have different HERS records to cater for every manufacturer part, if you want to call it that. And then on the manufacturer part, you maintain the the manufacturer code for that. So I'll go and just check for you if something like that is available within article. But my short answer is that you'll have to have a separate article number for each one.
Hi,
Roelof,
Yes.
normally the vendor material code is in the info records.
Yes, of course. And the info record is maintained on the article master.
okay, Roelof, can I add something? Sorry. There is also other workaround ways that you can do that. Another way will be if you enable an integration between your master data governance solution to your suppliers. They can be able to give you feedback on their material article numbers, and you can maintain that as part of your key value mapping table in MDG. So you'll have a view of what the material code is on your vendors. Cool. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. Thanks. I think Wazin, I think Johan answered the question is like on the article. So you'll have one article, and then you'll have 3 vendors maintained on the article under the purchase info record, and on the purchase info record you can go and maintain the vendor's number for that article. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for input, Johan. The next question is from Leanne. Is there authorizations on the price to edit the price? Can this feature be switched off?
Leanne, I have to check if there is an authorization, if there is physical authorization behind it, but another option would be just to go and gray out the field. So which is then effectively the same. So it might not be on authorization itself where you restrict it, but we can go and disable the field on the UI.
Great, thanks. Next question, is workflow tracker visible to all users?
Yes, workflow tracker will be available for all the users.
Great. Latal, I think the next question is for you. So Latal Reba is from SAP. The question from Agru is, are these enhancements that are done by SAP to MDG done based on customer requests, and how are they prioritized? And what is the frequency of the enhancements releases?
So some of the enhancements, yes, are done based on customer recommendations, and that comes through to us through the support channels. And also we have this program called the SAP Influence Program, where customers can go in and document what they need to see in the product. And our product management guys will look at them based on the votes and prioritize which ones they can add as part of the product roadmap. With regard to releases, today, as the MDG releases are coupled with the S/4HANA releases. So whenever we have a new S/4HANA release, there's a new MDG release, which currently has been happening almost every second quarter for the on-prem version and every quarter for the cloud-based stuff.
Thank you, Latal. Rofi, next question for you from Leanne again. I assume additional changes to the object, i.e. material, will not be allowed if there is an existing workflow active. Is this correct?
To the additional changes. Yeah, so how it works, Leanne, is so you have your MDG staging environment, right? So whenever you initiate a change through MDG, your data is I want to say copied from your S4 tables into MDG, and then you start with your workflow. So ideally, your changes directly in S4 should be switched off. So you shouldn't be allowed to go and make changes in S4. So that will stop that from happening. So then all your changes can only happen within your workflow, within the governance process. So then someone initiates the workflow, and we send it on to the next person for either approval, or they can still go and enhance the data object as well while it's in the workflow. It all depends on which rules you go and define for each of the users for those steps. So you can, as soon as you activate it or submit the change request, the users further down the line in the workflow can still go and add to that material. Okay. All right. I see AD Twitter, there was a question, what additional MDG objects are SAP planning to add to the standard delivery into the MDG roadmap? Bank master, for example. Okay. Latal, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not aware of any additional objects being added. So we currently have material, finance, and business partner, and then Utopia extended that with article, the retail and fashion management and plant maintenance, which is EAM.
Yes. You are correct, Ruth. Those are the objects that we manage out of the standard SAP MDG. But in cases where a customer has a certain object that they believe they need to manage it as part of their master data in MDG, they can use the custom model to be able to build that data model and have governance on it.
Thank you, Latal. Roelof, can you just share the slide deck again? I'm a bit wary of the time. I just want to share the information in terms of the next data series and the information around that and the title, and then what we can do. Obviously, any further questions we can take offline. Roelof and my email address and contact details will be on the last slide. But let's go to the next master data series. The title around that will be the technical delivery for your S/4HANA data migration. The speaker will be Paul McCormack from GlueData, and it will be on the 20th of August at 9 o'clock. So if you would be interested in that, please put that in your diaries. Obviously, Tracy and Afsar will send out all the collateral around that. And on the next slide, if you could just go to our next slide, there's just our contact details. If you've got any further questions around this, and especially around MDG and what has been spoken about today, please just email us or contact us, and we can obviously arrange further conversations around MDG. Tracy, I know it's 9 o'clock now on the dot, so I think we'll keep the forum open. If there are any more questions, please raise your hand or put the question in the chat. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending the MDG SIG today, and I hope you all have a great day. Roelof, thank you very much for your time and for preparing for this, and thank you for taking us through the slide deck.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.